Clyde is our repeater trustee. We had entrusted him to a rather large project, upgrading the club's repeater system. Bob, KSUD kind of started the ball rolling about a year ago, or more than a year ago, but we actually got things moving this past year. New equipment and new challenges, and wow, a whole new world out there that I'm dying to hear about because I can't reach half of it. So, Clyde, take it away.
The logo, if it looks a little odd, it was a scan of the decal because that's what I had. But of course, you can get a decal. So, you know, come on by, let us know, and we'll get them to you. Can I have the next slide? Okay, this is a block diagram and an overview of our repeater system. And we're going to try to explain what most of that means. Okay, the yellow you can ignore, it's just a spare part. Next slide. We have 3 repeaters. We have one on 1.25 or 220 centimeters. There's the frequency. A 2-meter box, which we're all real familiar with, and a 70 centimeter or 440 box. They're located near the Auburn Ravine at about 1,500 feet, overlooking the Sacramento Valley and the American River Canyon, the confluence of the rivers. Next, please. All radios run on a battery system with a high capacity charger. And I don't know if you can see the little kind of wire poking up on the end. When we put this thing in, we had a couple of birdies that were showing up on the 2-meter machine. So we did some research, twisted the leads, and there's a little stub antenna that's tuned to our 2-meter frequency that's connected to the ground, and the birdie went away. So that's a trick that most people don't know about. It's been around for a long time to short out frequency that's interfering. Next slide, please. This is our battery system. We changed it out. We used to have 8D batteries, which are lead acid. We ate a hole in the floor pretty much in the vault. We moved them. We've got now telecommunications batteries at 125 amp hours each. They are in parallel, so we have 250 amp hours, which will run our equipment for about 3 or 4 days without any power. Next slide. This is the 220 repeater. It's a standalone unit. It's an old, next slide. It has the details. It's on 220 meters. It's an old G mobile unit with an RCOM 210 controller. There's 20 watts output. Those are the frequencies. There's a CTCSS, and it is a standalone repeater, i.e. it is not connected to any systems like the internet or anything else. Next, please. This is the main stuff that you all voted spending a lot of money on the last year. This is our Yaesu Rack with 3 Yaesu repeaters. There's 2-meter, a 440, and the one that's dark in the middle is a spare. These are programmable from the front panel. You can program them up on any 2-meter or 440 frequency. The 2-meter rig is on a Henry amp. That's the bottom thing with the 2 fans that you see. Right above that is a little computer drawer that you pull out, for your laptop. There is an RCOM 210 controller running that as well. And there are 2-meter and 440 duplexes on the thing. And at the very top, the thing with the little red cable, red-ended cable, is our Raspberry Pi and RA40 interface for AllStar and Echo Link. Next, please. There it is, the 2-meter DR2X Yaesu repeater, which runs at 20 watts. The radio is capable of 50 watts output. However, we run it at 20. That way it's not stressing the rig. It goes into a Henry radio linear amp. So we're putting out about 80 watts to the duplexer. There are the frequencies, the offsets, which I think everybody's familiar with. There is one thing I want to share with everyone. It says 825 demo. You hear a lot of kerchunking when people are trying to see if the repeater works. Well, there's a real easy way to test it. If you key up and press 825, if I get the right microphone here, I have 3 that look alike. Bear with me while I get it. Here we go.
Ready.
AB4CC testing, AB4CC testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
AB4CC testing, AB4CC testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You can see that the controller has a recording feature, so it'll record you and you can hear what your signal sounds like. I hope everybody was able to hear that, but feel free to try it out. It's open to all members of the club, anybody that's within RF range of the repeater. Up on top are the Raspberry Pi 3 and a Masters Communication RA40 USB radio adapter that goes into channel 2 of the RCOM controller. That runs the AllStar Link, which we're using the Hamboit software. And we're also using Echo Link, excuse me, for those that are familiar with it. Next slide, please. There it goes. You can get into the AllStar Link via radio nodes or the smartphone. The Echo Link works according to smartphone as well. There is a Wires X room that is analog. It's a W6EK 2-meter room. The node is a Yaesu FTM100DR with an HR200 interface and a Windows computer. We have 2 of those. This one is hosted by Brian. It is also connected to Broadcastify, so you can just monitor it over the internet if you don't have a radio. And I think they put up the links to that earlier. Next, please. The 440 repeater, that's also a Yaesu running at 20 watts. There is no linear amp on it because of the pay pause stuff at Deal. We have to be careful. We're not allowed more than 75 watts, I believe, output. It is a fusion radio. That's the Yaesu's C4 FM scheme of totally digital. It's internally controlled. It does have a second receiver in there so that we can send control codes to turn it off or reset it remotely. It is in Wires X. It's the Sierra NorCal room. Again, the node is the same thing. It's a FTM100DR and a 200 interface and a Windows computer. It is hosted here at my house, and it is also connected to Broadcastify. Yaesu started the system of Wires X because in Japan they do not have any repeaters, so they interlinked via the internet there. We can't keep. Originally, we wanted to put them all in the vault. We found out Yaesu's marvelous engineering prevented us that you can't have 2 of them in the same internet link, so that's why they're separated. Next slide, please. Also on the 440 repeater, it has a LAN card in it and has IMRS, which is Internet Link Multi-Site Repeater System. Ken Wall, KA6SUV, has a system which we have joined with. There's up in Gold Run, there's down in Bakersfield, Idaho, and some other places that we could connect in through a couple of codes that you dial up on your radio. We will share that information in writing, so that's a little too long to put up on a net here. It also has an open spot digital radio IP gateway, so it's how we connect with YouTubers and with the CR NorCal from the road and other places to prevent interference. You probably, if you listen to the 440, you'll hear Jerry and others that are down in Quartzsite this week. They use that to get back. It's internet connected, and again, we'll share some more information about that. Next slide, please. We have a special event configuration. You heard earlier about volunteering for the Western States and Tevis Cup. Well, we set up the spare DR2X to do that. We can put it in the analog mode and go back to the old cross-connected mode that we used to have many, I guess about 1.5 years ago now, something like that. And we're going to get in instructions of all the dial-up and stuff. It's just a little complicated to share on a short presentation like this. So we're going to provide details and instructions via the newsletter, probably on the groups IO or W6EK.org. That's other means that we'll determine, to be kind of determined by the board of directors and how far we want to spread all our codes and everything else. So that's about it. Anybody have any questions? No questions? Everybody's muted.
Clyde, can I just see your first slide or two, please?
Yeah, that's the one you wanted to look at, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's basically what's going on. That's all the hardware up to the antennas, the DMARC, and since I'm the first up for committee reports, this Motorola box is going to be changed out. We're going to AT&T and the Uverse internet, which is a lot faster than the DSL service we currently have. That'll happen this Monday. We're also going to upgrade this RCOM software. There was some glitch in there that when you asked the computer for the date, it told you 2030 instead of 2021. But of course, with the way things are going, 2030 might not be too bad, So
It's like the Y2K. It's gonna go really bad soon.
Yeah, Y2K, well, we're way past that, but it's sort of like a Y2K. There was just some minor thing, and there's a patch for it that we have, and we're going to put it in on Monday when we change out this hardware for the internet.
Clyde, can we connect the two sides together? Can we cross connect them?
Cross connect which?
The 2 meter and 70 centimeter.
The 440 and the 2 meter, not currently as configured.
Comment?
The fusion repeater is separate. It can be connected, but it isn't normally because it uses its own controller.
The 2 meter can be connected to the 440 using wires X. So maybe that is what is that what you're asking, Greg?
Some way of cross connecting the two so that digital folks can get into the 2 meter net, for example, or like for the events. I guess for the events, we'll have the 70.
Yeah, for the events, it will be in analog mode. But yes, right now, the way that it is rigged up, anyone on wires X side can talk to the analog side. Anybody on the analog 2 meter side can talk to the digital 440 side just by putting in the DTMF code on an analog radio. You can connect up to the 440 side.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't simulcast like it used to because there's a problem with Yaesu's software that the repeaters don't like to be in analog mode or digital mode, and working in combination. What happens is the radio gets stuck in analog mode or stuck in digital mode, and so we separated them out. And so we had to connect through the wires X is the way that we get around that. So using the RCOM controller would only be for analog to analog and special events such as Tevis or the Western States.
Okay. Other questions?
Okay, anybody else?
Well, I just wanted to point out that we have good relationships with KK7AIR over in Georgetown, excuse me. And he is running a 2 meter unit over there in test, and he's getting ready. He has all the equipment getting ready to mount that up overlooking the valley from Georgetown. And that will be tied into our repeater 24/7. And so, we have some good working relationships, like Clyde said, with KA6SUB Ken, who's been a real great mentor to us. And so an example, anybody who is, wants to try getting into Bakersfield or into Gold Run can go right in and punch up the digital ID code too, and you'll be instantly connected up to Bakersfield or to Gold Run. So some really neat options. And like Clyde said, those will be available on the website and by a direct email, just because they are codes and that sort of thing.
Yeah, then the ultimate goal was along the Highway 50 corridor, you could go from Placerville to Lake Tahoe and be in contact. And the club and the board of directors and the repeater committee have had the desire to do the same thing along 80. And hooking to Gold Run is kind of the start of doing that. And hopefully we'll find other places for other repeaters or other groups that are willing to connect with us, and we'll be able to do the same thing on the I-80 corridor. Any other questions?
Thank you, Clyde. Appreciate the presentation. And if anybody wants more information about the digital side and how digital in general works, there were a couple of presentations earlier this year, one by Bob and one by me on digital communications. So I want to check those out on the club's YouTube channel.